All right, so we finally got Apple's 2023 roadmap and product predictions. Let's talk about it.
Perfect.
All right, welcome back. So I want to set the video up from the very start. What we're going to do in this video is we're going to go through each quarter by quarter what we think Apple is going to launch as far as products. It can be new Mac Minis, new iMacs, everything like that, including, Airpods and everything else. So I'm going to go through them very quickly. I'm just going to show you like quarter one, quarter two, quarter three, quarter four. What do we think is going to launch and who's the one making these predictions? So if you're interested in Apple product launches, all the new products coming out for 2023, let's watch it and let's start now. All right, so where are these predictions even coming from? Are they coming from me? Well, let's look over at my screen. It says right here, the timeframes are based on information from reliable sources like Apple analyst Ming-Choi Choi, I think I'm saying that right, Bloomberg's Mark Gurman, and then finally display analyst Ross Young. So those are three people in the industry that make these predictions. They're not always right. I'm going to tell you that right now. They're not always right, but at the end of the day, this is where this came from. So let's get into quarter one through quarter four. All right, so the first quarter I think is going to be the most exciting, and because it has the most products it's going to launch, at least it's the most we know about. So if we look over here, the first thing coming out that's going to be exciting is the 14 and 16 inch kind of upgrade as far as the MacBook Pro models with the M2 Pro and the M2 Max chips. So they're going to be a lot faster, we hope, in those Pro and Max chips. The next thing obviously that's going to be probably one of the most exciting things right there. But then comes in this new Mac Mini, right? So we're all waiting for the new Mac Mini. Comes with the M2 and the M2 Pro chip options. If you think about that, if the M2 Pro comes in the Mac Mini, we're going to have a game changer as far as the Mac Studios and all that. What are you going to buy? What do you think you're going to buy in that case? It's going to be a tough decision. So hopefully at least with the M2 it's something, but the M2 Pro and the Mac Mini would be huge. And then the third one is possible new Mac Studios, right? Now this is we have the least amount of information on this one. There's the least, the predictions from these three people are not all there on this, but they think just because of the age of it, they're at least going to be upgraded with the M2 options now, and not, obviously because they're still on the M1 and the M1 options and the chips like that. So they got to upgrade these eventually. They think it's going to happen probably in quarter one. All right, and then Apple's going to launch a new display as well in this quarter, we think. It's going to be a 27-inch external display. This one's going to come with all mini LEDs, so it's going to be kind of a slot in between the studio display and then the $6,500 or $6,000 display. So they're thinking it might be in the high 2000s. Again, for most people, that's not going to help a lot of people, so I'm not too excited about it. I'm more excited about the Samsung one that I just talked about in my last video. That's going to be a 5K panel, so check out my other video if you haven't seen that. All right, and then as we keep going down the list, they say the Mac Pro with the M2 chip. So obviously the M2 Ultra, let me take a step back. The M2 Ultra, it's got to be super fast. I don't even know how they're going to slot it in a Mac Pro anymore and kind of justify the cost. I think maybe with a ton of RAM, like maybe a gigabit of RAM or something, and stuff that's going to make it so different that you have to buy it if you're a studio or something. But nobody's really going to buy that. It's going to be the M2 Ultra chip, but still, a Mac Pro is going to be like $10,000, so it's going to be off most people's radar. And then finally, to wrap up the first quarter, is the new full-size HomePod. And I'm guessing a lot of people don't really care too much about that. We're talking more about the computers and the watches and stuff. But at least you're going to know this is coming out. It should be the full-size version of the HomePod. All right, so in the second quarter, we're going to talk about possible things that they think are launching. And as we go down the quarters, they're going to get kind of less, we don't know as much information about them. But this is probably the biggest launch of all of 2023 if it becomes true. It's going to be a 15.5-inch MacBook Air with M2 and M2 Pro chips. Think about this. So not only a 13-something, like this is a 13-inch MacBook Air, it's going to be 15.5, so a bigger Air, and it's going to go up to the M2 Pro supposedly. This is going to open up a floodgate. I think this is going to be, due to the size of it, the performance, the price point, I think this is going to probably be the computer to get for everybody. So keep an eye out for this in the second quarter of 2023. It's going to be, a brand new MacBook Air, which I think everyone will be talking about once we get a little bit closer to it. And I'm probably the most excited about this, except for one other product coming up in a little bit. All right, so the third quarter is going to be kind of exciting if you're an iPhone lover. So that's when we expect the next launch of the iPhones. So we're looking at the iPhone 15, the iPhone 15 Plus, the iPhone 15 Pro, and finally the iPhone 15 Ultra. So we're looking at that at the third quarter of 2023. Again, I don't know how much they're going to be changing these. They better change them more than they did last time, or we're going to I think Apple's going to be in a little bit of trouble unless they keep upgrading these a little bit more than they did the last time. That's all I got to say on that. The next thing here in the third quarter is the Apple Watch Series 9. So if you're waiting for kind of a new watch and you think you can get it earlier this year, it looks like it's going to be pushed back to kind of that second half of the year for this year right now. Then all of a sudden you can get the second generation Airpods Max. So if you're waiting for those as well, that looks like it's pushed back to the third quarter of this year. So you got to think, is it worth it to spend the extra money? It's probably going to be a little bit more expensive, but it's going to be the second generation, so it's going to probably be a little bit better, obviously. And then finally, this is kind of an interesting product, but we don't know too much about it yet, or how it's even going to work, or how much it's even going to cost. But it's going to be the Apple Mixed Reality headset. So this plans to launch in the third quarter of 2023. Nobody really knows kind of the applications they're going to be coming out with, the price point exactly. There's a lot of information that needs to be here, but at the end of the day, we know at least we think it's coming. We don't know, but we think it's coming in quarter 3, 2023. All right, so now the fourth quarter, and this is probably my personal favorite. I'm kind of biased, as you can see. I have iMacs and stuff. Supposedly, this is going to be, have to wait till the fourth quarter though. iMac with the M3 chip. Now, this is a little bit of a, people are thinking, is it the M2 or M3? They're saying the M3 chip, 24-inch iMac, plus maybe a larger display on that. So you might be getting a 27, maybe not, but at least a 24-inch, maybe with an M3 because we're getting later in the year. They just don't think they're going to launch with the M2s at that point. And then it's going to come out with an iMac Pro with mini LED display and an M3 Pro or an M3 Max chip. Think about that for a second. That's the iMac Pro. M3 Pro, I'm sorry, that's the iMac Pro with the M3 Pro chip or the M3 Max chip. So it's going to be super fast, mini LED screen. Looks like it could be up to 27 or 32 inches on that one. Unfortunately for that one, it doesn't mean a lot to me because I'll be poor if I buy that. I think it's going to be probably over $3,000, if not over $5,000. You're going to be in that range where you're going to probably be even talking more in some special cases, all the way up 8,000 or 9,000. So that's the one I want to see it just come out for the iMac, but I'm thinking about the 24, or hopefully they make a 27 again, or a 32 just with the normal chips, and that's the one I'm going to pick up for sure. This thing works great, and I'll sell this and I'll get that one. I'm waiting for that. I'm crossing my fingers. And then finally here, we got two more things, or actually just one more thing that they think is coming out, is a 7th generation iPad mini, and with the new M2 chip possibly. So maybe M2, maybe M3 at that point, but probably an M2 on the iPad mini. And they haven't really said much about any of the other iPads, so I'm not sure they're concentrating on them too much this year. But the mini finally is going to get an update, and that's kind of big for people that like that kind of form factor there. So anyways, you guys tell me. So as we kind of progress through this and we find out what's coming out, what is the most important to you? To me, it's going to be the iMac. I love iMacs. I have other computers, as you can see around me and stuff, but my iMac, I have a 27-inch, I have this one, and those are what I use probably 95% of the time on all of my systems here. I love using them. The screens are just incredible. So, and I don't have the best eyes as far as close up. So I want the iMacs to come out, and I want them to come out with the M2, or at least, M3 chip would be awesome. Even if it was an M2, M2 may not make me upgrade from this because of what this is, obviously. It's going to be, we saw the differences. It's like, what is it, 18% or something? But the M3 would be super intriguing. And if it was a 27-inch, I would probably upgrade even if it was the M2. Let me know what you think. Is it the Mac Mini? Maybe with that new Samsung display that I talked about, that Samsung display in my last video, check that out, a 5K one. Hopefully pushing around the $1,000 price point. We don't know for sure yet. Or is it going to be the two, the 14-inch and 16-inch MacBook Pros? A lot of people like those with the M2 Max and all those type of advanced chips with the M2 series. You let me know. Put in the comments what you think is coming, what you're waiting for, what you're going to spend your money on, how much you're willing to spend, and we'll wrap this up. We'll talk to everybody soon, and I hope everyone's having a great start to the year. Talk to you in the next video, usually every couple days. Peace.